Yo, what's up, everybody? Question. So here I sit. There's my hotel. We're chilling. I've been to this hotel many times. I'm down in Anaheim, but there's a specific reason I'm here right now, and it lends to the question: what makes you qualified? What makes you qualified? Like, how is somebody qualified to do a thing? Like, is it certifications? Do they have to go to school to become qualified? Is there a certain amount of people who have to, raise their hand and say, yes, you're qualified? Is it something that you have to do? Is it, do you have to have something up on your wall to make you qualified? It's a great question, because we all find ourselves in a lot of situations sometimes where we have to ask ourselves a question. Am I qualified to do this? Am I qualified to say that? I remember that this, we was probably, I don't know, this was a couple years ago now, but we're sitting up there at the top of Snow Basin in the middle of the summer. It's a ski resort. We're up there, but they take you up and you can do hiking and all sorts of stuff. And right at the peak where we were at, it overlooks Ogden Valley and then Ogden City, which are actually two different places. But it's overlooking it, and there's these parachuter guys, like these, I don't know what they call them, but they have the little chairs, and then they take the wind that's coming off the peaks, and then they literally just parachute all the way down the mountain. Super cool. I've seen it, and everything you do inherently has some risk, right? But we're sitting there, I'm with me, my wife, my son, and my daughter, and we're just hanging out. We're watching a couple of these guys just getting ready to launch. So we're like super excited to watch them launch. We're like sitting there, and one guy goes, gets launched, does his thing, is like floating all down. It's like, oh, good job. We're watching him go. And the last guy in this group, and there was a handful, there was like 5 people in this group. We were the last guy, and he's probably 50 feet. He's really close. Like, he's just 50 feet to the side of us. We're just sitting and watching. There's a lot of people. There's probably 100 people up there watching these guys do this, because it's, it's pretty cool. I've never done it. I'm sure it's fun. But this guy goes, he takes off. Everything looks great. He's like done his little side thing. He's going side, side, side. And then he's probably about 150 feet in the air. And then all of a sudden he banks. He does like a corner turn thing, and his parachute collapses. The dude's like 150 feet in the air. His parachute collapses, and he immediately just starts pummeling towards the ground. His parachute, just like you'd imagine, you've probably seen them in some YouTube videos or whatever, where all the strings are together and the parachute's just like this bubbling mess, but there's no air. It's not doing anything. It's not resisting him at all, and he's falling. All we see is he falls behind this ridge line that we can't see, so nobody sees him hit the ground. Nobody sees what happened, but it's very obvious that the dude just freaking hit the ground. And I remember sitting there, and I'm like, I had this very distinct thought, which was, somebody should do something. And then I had this, it was just audible, clear as day. Like, Trevor, you're the one. And I was like, this all happened like an instant, but I have this thought, and I have this very clear voice in my head that says, Trevor, you're the one. And then I don't even think about it. I had some stuff in my hand. I reached over, handed it to my wife, and we didn't say words, just looked at each other in the eyes, and she knew, I knew, and I just ran. And it's a rocky terrain. It's all like this. It was hard to get there, and I'm going as fast as I possibly can. And as I'm running towards him, I'm having time to collect my thoughts. I don't know what I'm about to find. I don't know what I'm about to see. I don't know what the condition this guy's going to be in. I don't know if he's alive. But I had to go. I had to go. And I crest over the hill, and I see him there, and his parachute's on the ground. He's down there, and as I get closer within ear range, he's moaning and groaning. So I'm like, well, he's still alive. And I get up to him, and, believe it or not, I could spend a lot more time going into the details on the story, but the dude didn't die. Pretty confident he broke his femur, his hip. The dude was messed up. And we sat in this place, there's no cell service up there, and we could have gotten some rescue, but where he's at, it would have been really hard to get rescue there. And he literally just says to me, he's like, dude, can you I'll tell you how to do it, get my parachute lined out and help me launch again. It'll be way easier to take care of me when I'm down. Right? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, dude's just freaking nuts. This dude's a crazy guy. He was probably like 50 years old, not super old, fit guy, he was in good shape. But that's what you want to do. So I sat there, and I got it all lined out, and I got the strings all set up, and all in all, probably took me 30 minutes or so to get him set up to ready to go again. And interesting side note, not another single person came over the ridge. No one else ever showed up. And you couldn't see what I was doing. Right? You couldn't see because the ridge was blocking you. So no one else came. Just kind of an interesting side note for later on in this story. And finally I get the parachute lined out, and he's like, okay, you got to grab here, and he kind of does this little sit thing, and dude's in tremendous amounts of pain. He's like panting and moaning and groaning throughout it all, and his, you know what's crazy about this? All his people, the other 4 people with him, they have no idea what's going on. They're enjoying their little parachute down the mountain and just thinking all is well. And meanwhile, like one of their friends is like up there on the top, like halfway dying. Right? It's crazy. And so finally I get it all set. He's ready. The wind goes, whatever. I mean, he just tells me what to do, what I'm supposed to do, and I grab it on a pole, and it tensions the right way, and boom! All of a sudden he's back up in the sky again. And fortunately, this time it worked. And he just, you could tell he wasn't like having any fun. He's like going down as quick as he could to get down to where the rest of his people were at, and they'd be able to help him and get him to the hospital and all of that. But nobody qualified me for that. I'm not an EMT. I took Boy Scouts. I was in Boy Scouts when I was a kid, so I learned some first aid. I know some basic things. I know how to do CPR. There's some basic things, but I'm not qualified. Or am I? What qualified me to go run across the ridge and go try to save a man's life? What qualified me for that? There's no training. I don't have any real training for it. I don't have a certification. I don't have any kind of a piece of paper at all that's saying, hey, you're the guy that should go do it. So I have to ask the question again, what qualifies a person for a thing? I want you to consider that your qualification is you. It's not other people. It's not the society. It's not the environment. It's you. You have to qualify yourself. And until you believe that you're the one, you'll never be the one. Until you believe that you can actually go after the targets and dreams you have in your life, you will never do it. Here we sit at this hotel, right? Why I'm here, right? 2 weeks ago, my wife competed in her very first fitness competition. Okay, she competes in this fitness competition and she crushes it. It's her very first one. She's 47 years old, competing against 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, and she crushes it. She is in 5 different categories and she places in the top 5 in all 5 categories. It was the largest NPC show of the year. And my wife, never doing this before, shows up and does the show, doesn't just do the show, doesn't just get a participation award, like she crushes it. Right, she gets big old freaking medals, and she's like it's just amazing, absolutely amazing. She's on cloud 9, and then because of from guidance from her coach, says, "Hey, you're good enough that you could go pro." And my wife had never considered it, and now she considered it. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you're right." So fast forward 2 weeks. 2 weeks from there, we're now to here. Her very first show was 2 weeks ago. We just got done checking her in and then she's getting her spray tan right now. I figured I'd come take advantage of the time and create this video, but she's in there, she's checked in, and she's now competing at the national level, and she's competing for a pro card, right? This is, anyone who does, and I didn't know much about the industry at the time, but this is a big deal. What she's doing is a big deal, and to do this at 47 is a big deal. But she made a comment to me as we did check in, and she had to go up to the room and change for a second, and we're coming down, but she's like, oh geez, I feel like and she's like playing, she's like wrestling in her mind. She's like, I know it's not true, but I feel like I'm not qualified to be here. And she's like, then I think about it, and I'm like, no, I did my very first show 2 weeks ago, and I got 5 medals. Like, I am qualified to be here. I deserve to be here. I actually deserve to get my pro card. I deserve to win this entire show. What qualifies her to be here? Well, she does. There's nothing I can say is going to qualify her. There's no judge in the world that's going to qualify her to be here. There in the NPC or this competition. There's nobody. Her coach can't qualify her. Her coach can support her. I can support her. People can support her. But at the end of the day, you have to choose it, and you have to know that you're qualified. Like, the things that you want in your life, they come down to your belief system. Do you believe you can actually do it? Are you the one? There were 100 other people on that mountainside that could have gone over to save that guy. Why was it me? Well, it was me because I chose it was me. Because it didn't matter whether I had a piece of paper that said I could save lives. It came down to the fact that I qualified myself by my action. My wife qualified herself by her action. You qualify yourself by your action, or you dequalify yourself by your lack of action. A lot of you guys are waiting for permission. You're sitting around waiting for someone to wave a magical wand and say, hey, you're qualified, or you're the one, or ready to go. And you set these targets and these things that you want out of life, and then you're waiting for some permission from someone to go after your dreams. and to actually go and do the thing that you know you are called to do. What would happen if you stopped waiting and you just made a decision today that you were the one? How different would your world be knowing that you're the one? So take a look at your world across body, being, balance, and business. Where in one of those areas, where in your world are you waiting to have qualifications in order for you to choose to go? Once you've found that domain, you've found that area, what's one thing that you can do about it today? And do something about it today. Take one action that's going to get you closer to you being able to actually stand 2 feet on the ground, shoulders back, chin up, that you're the one. That's all I got for you. It's your boy Trevor White. Have a fantastic night.